and welcome to Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Debra, your host. Welcome to the show. Again, with great conversations with female entrepreneurs. We have a great one here today. She does a lot of eclectic things, and I know you guys are going to be really excited to hear what she has to say and learn all about her stuff. And so I'm going to jump right in. Kay Phillips is an anti-BS business coach, ADHD entrepreneur, and side hustle to six-figure success story with a farm full of chaos and a knack for cutting through the excuses. Over the past 7 years, she's built a thriving business helping entrepreneurs work smarter, not harder, without sacrificing their sanity. Her expertise in helping business owners ditch busy work, design systems that actually work, and grow sustainably, even when focus feels impossible and burnout looms. Kay's approach blends practical strategy, mindset shifts, and real-life lessons from the trenches, plus an occasional farm story, because let's be real, life gets messy. Please welcome Kay to Deals with Heels. Yay!
Thank you so much for that introduction. It never ceases to amaze me and be like, that's me, isn't it? That sounds like me.
Right? And it's always one of the things that I struggle with that it's difficult for me to overcome a bit has been that whole value proposition. And I think it's pretty common for women and men my age, but we've learned so much from our experiences and our education through life and our jobs and all the things, right? But to us, it's just our regular life. And so sometimes it's easy to lose that value of exactly how valuable all of those experiences are and how much they can help people. And if they help just one person, then it's worth sharing. Yeah, that's exactly. You're such a badass when you read that out loud. You're like, oh, wait, that is me. I'm doing all of those things. So
Yeah, exactly. I had a coach tell me one time, she said, what's personal is universal. So just because it feels like it's just for you or just boring doesn't mean that other people can't relate to it or maybe don't need to hear it, kind of for that external, like, oh, hey, I'm not crazy.
exactly. And honestly, I think part of it is that we're so used to it. It's happened with frequency in our lives, or like when you're a guest, you say the same thing on multiple podcasts. And so you forget how valuable it is. And not everyone listens to every single podcast. So it's an easy trap to fall in when you're in that self-value, self-worth thing. And I even struggle with it in my own life. And I have to sit back and remember, yeah, this is just you, but what you do is valuable. The words and the wisdom's valuable. So same to you, girl. Let's hear about all your stuff. And I can see, so Kay has a farm and she and I have talked before. And so she has, what kind of a cat? Is it a cat that you can see if you're in the video,
Yep.
folks?
Yeah, she pops on all of my Zoom calls. I call her my micromanager.
Okay.
So
She
she's
keeps you
mostly in the
honest.
way, but trying to be helpful.
She's super cute and pretty big. Of
She's
course, she may be like zoomed
small
up
but
closer because
hefty.
she's on the.
Yeah, she's a little smaller than most, like, average house cats, but she's chunky.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
I had to say that before we get really into the discussion, but let's start with you just telling us how you got to where you are. I love hearing all the entrepreneurial stories, and I know that the listeners do as well.
Yeah. So I grew up in a family business, not actually working it, but my grandpa started a company back in the late 80s. And so my mom, my uncle, all my immediate family has always worked there. I'm actually the only person in the family who's never worked there because they still operate using like a DOS, like a DOS system for those of you who are old enough to
Do they
remember.
have a
Yes,
do they
and they
have a
still
dot
use the
matrix
dot
printer?
matrix printers, yeah. It's kinda crazy. So it's just been so, like, modified over the years, like, if you guys
No
can't
kidding.
upgrade to a modern
That's
system, I don't
right.
think I wanna work
I mean,
there.
I was in
But having that
college in the
entrepreneur,
80s.
they're still using the same system, the very first operating system they ever got, they are still using. It's kind of a vibe, like, if you know, you know, you walk into the office, I hear, like, the dot matrix printers going, the ones with the holes on the edges, and it's just
Mhm.
straight nostalgia. I'm dating myself a little bit, but, yeah, it's been very interesting to hear
Wow.
it's an in-person business, so they recycle concrete and asphalt. So, like, when counties, cities tear up roads, they bring in those big giant chunks, my family crunches it up and then sells it back.
Hello, everyone. We had a little small technical glitch, but we have it figured out. So Kay is back with us and she was telling us about her entrepreneurial journey. Why don't you just start kind of from the beginning? How did you end up where you are right now?
Yeah, a lot of it really comes from growing up with a family that had a business, like that my whole family has worked at since the 80s when my grandpa founded it, and seeing how they run it, being a very old school type of business. So it's a kind of a landscape almost business. And they recycle asphalt and concrete when like cities and counties tear up roads, they crush it and then they sell it back. And people will use that kind of in lieu of like dirt driveways and roads. It's a little less dusty. And they have been running it the same way since they opened in the 80s, using the DOS software. Like you can't click anything, you have to tab and arrow through, and they use the dot matrix printers, that print out the holes on the side. For anyone who knows the sound of those, like that'll take you straight back to
Mm,
some nostalgic
I
time.
mean, no wonder the whole family works for them because how could they find someone that knew how to work all of that stuff? I mean,
Mhm.
even though I used that back then, that doesn't mean I remember how to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. It's just not very efficient either. Like my mom, she pretty much runs, the whole office, admin, HR, all of that part of the company. And she has one computer screen, one like, I don't know, 23, 24-inch computer screen. That's it. She only opens one window at a time. And
Oh my God.
I can't fathom that. And because of my ADHD, when I see inefficiencies, I get a little spicy.
I was about to say with your efficiency expertise, it's just
Yeah,
got to
you
be
can't
like,
do
I can't work here. If I work
it. No.
here, we're making some changes.
Exactly, and being like my mom, my uncle, my grandpa, they're older than me, it's a different generation, I'm always gonna be the kid no matter how old I get, and so it's kinda one of those, like, "You know what? Instead of fighting and blowing up the family, I'm gonna just go take all of our Sunday dinner business lessons, essentially, and go start my own company because I can't handle inefficiency, so I can't really handle working for somebody else either. Because if I see something like a company I really loved working for, but they were still using paper everything and in quadruplicate
Mm.
because of the different project managers, the billing, like all the different departments needed like their own version. I'm like, why? Like and then we file the papers. Like it's all saved on the
Then you
computer.
scan them.
Why are we doing this? Why are y'all writing on them? Like, why doesn't everybody have an iPad? I can't handle it. And
Or
so it's a
even on
big
their
part.
computer, you can type the notes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, come on. Yeah, it does boggle the mind, especially for e people even younger than us. It's the
Mhm.
whole anti-tech thing.
Mhm.
So, how did that lead to your farm?
The farm also kind of grew up adjacent to it. So my extended family, most of them lived on and still do live on working cattle ranches or farms, a little bit of both, You don't usually do just one thing. And so going back there every year, I've always been into horses and the country lifestyle, even growing up in the suburbs, on like I don't know, maybe an eighth of an acre was like every suburb plot. And that was still too close. Like, I like middle of nowhere, always have, which is very different. None of my family has ever been like. So, kinda got that a little bit from the extended family, I guess, or generations past.
Right.
Growing up, in my teens, I started reading Louis L'Amour, who's a very well-known Western author. What teenage girl reads Louis L'Amour?
Well,
This one right here.
my mother read those books. I had a
Yep.
whole stack of them. She loved them so much, and
Mhm,
I would go to, like, the used bookstores and look through all
mhm,
of their little westerns, and you never knew which one to buy. She pretty much had read all of
mhm,
them, but
mhm.
even then she would say, "Oh, I'll read it again."
Yep. Every few years, I go back through and I'll read. One of my favorite series is the Sackett series. Like the Sacketts as a family. It
Mhm.
goes all the way from, poor, not paupers, but very poor, kind of like almost fishermen back in England before the US was a thing. And they were over here, kind of like almost before the pilgrims. And then going through, different stories of how the characters kind of built America. They were not necessarily the main characters and like the famous stories, but they were just kind of back side stories, little side quests kind of.
Well, and they
And
were probably
super
really
interesting.
important, right? Because all of history is written by a few people from a few different perspectives. And so some of those stories really impacted the area regionally. And I think they're really important to even just highlight that way of life back then. Even though it was so brutal, it was so simple also that there's something really appealing about that to me as well.
Most definitely. And just how clean everyone was in communication is huge since, nowadays that's a big part of what I do is communication because of the ADHD and, it's
I
hard
figure
to communicate clearly. But it was very interesting. You dealt with like entrepreneurs, you deal with your own problems. Back in the day, like you're out in the middle of nowhere, you may or may not have a sheriff in your quote unquote town. You need to band together as neighbors or all of, similarly minded people and, push out the outlaws that are trying to take over your ranch. Just take it or, they're going to unalive you. Like that's how it was. The neighbors had to band together and push them out or say, you know what, it's not worth it and just move along. Very similar to kind of the entrepreneurial journey. Like you don't really have necessarily a safety net or a backup. Stuff comes up and you have to figure it out. And there's not necessarily the internet, to help you with it. So everyone's got an opinion, but you're the one who actually has to do the thing at the end of the day.
right. And let's face it, there are people that start a business and they're really great at that one thing, whether that's a roofer or a retail clothing store or something else. But within that business, there's a lot of other things that that business owner is responsible for that they likely aren't great at necessarily. And if they're not, then how to deal with it and all of that. And that really is what you do. You help with all of those efficiencies, right? Tell us about your
Mhm.
business. And let's see, I wrote it down specifically, three key pillars or productivity hacks that people use. But first, tell us a little bit about what your business does and then how you incorporate those kinds of things in there.
Yeah, everyone's a little different. So it just depends on what the people that I'm working with need or where they're at or where they're stuck at. Or usually it's more where they think they're stuck. A lot of times we like to kind of deflect, or project like, oh, I'm struggling with sales. Like, is it really a sales problem? Or do you change your offer every other week because nobody buys it? And so nobody really knows what you sell? Like, is it really a sales problem? It's probably not how you're talking, it's your offer. Or maybe it is how you're talking, your offer's solid, but it's how you speak about it. If somebody can't meet you and within, 5 minutes turn around and say, "Oh, hey, I want you to meet so and so who does XYZ." You have not clearly communicated exactly what it is that you do. And I found a lot of people, they really struggle with the communication side of things because they are lacking in a direction. Well, it's a lot of kind of piece together strategies from YouTube or people they follow or courses they've bought. So they're not always very clear about where it is they're going or they're thinking too, short term with it. They can't necessarily communicate it clearly. And then they do things the way they've always been done. And they don't think about putting in those different systems, especially now with AI and even not AI, just basic workflows, which a lot of people mistake automations and workflows. Having a good workflow or, from the corporate lingo, SOP, standard operating procedure, is really what allows you to step out of your business and work on your business instead of just in it all the time. Because if you can't step away from your business without losing money, congratulations, you have created a job, not a business that somebody might potentially one day buy or that you could outsource.
That is a really big step too. It's hard when you start, you're doing the work. Now your business, you get to a point your business one can't grow anymore until it because you're doing it all, right? You have to go out and grow it. You have to work on the other parts of your business so you can really get stuck in that point. But what I'd like to do is dive in a little bit more with workflow versus automation. Why don't you dive into that? I don't think people really understand what that is and how setting it in a structured way so that you follow the same steps every time can really help efficiency and make sure your things aren't falling through the cracks.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed recently with all the talk of AI the last year or two. People just don't realize when they say automation, they want basically a repeatable process, set it and forget it. And that really isn't AI. That really is just automation. If it's the same process every time, it's not creating anything new, it's just following the same roadmap. That's really more of a system or a workflow. And most people don't take the time to actually sit down and write it out. They just kind of know it in their head. And, sometimes they might forget part of it. Sometimes they might add in a couple extra parts and then not the next week. And what a lot of people use for like Zapier.com, Make.com, and a lot of those are actually workflows that just run automatically, not truly artificial intelligence automations.
And they've been around for a long time.
Long, long time, and most people don't realize that. It's just with all the talk of AI, people are starting to kind of scrape that surface level. Because when you get good at systems thinking, essentially, so, like, designing workflows, thinking through, even if you have an assistant that you're working with, like another human assistant, like, "Hey, I need you to create a newsletter on this topic. It should go over these main points. When it's done really well, the tone of voice will be XYZ. Make sure it doesn't have any mentions of the Eisenhower matrix or the Pomodoro technique because we don't believe in those here, or whatever it is."
Right.
So you have a way to communicate, here's what I want, here's what it should have in it, here's what it shouldn't have in it, here's what success looks like. I use, honestly, ChatGPT to train business owners because they say, like, oh, nobody gets it, nobody wants to work anymore, everyone's stupid. No, you just expect them to be a mind reader. And that's where a lot of people have a problem with workflows and with AI is they're expecting it to think like them and have all the context that they have in their brain. So when you get really good at thinking in terms of the workflows and the systems, first this, then that, if this, then XYZ, then you can take that, turn it into a template. It can run in the background on its own. Then once you get good at that, thinking that way, you're better at giving instructions to humans and to AI who can both utilize those workflows. So you can say, hey, chat, run XYZ workflow every Monday morning at 7 a.m. to give me the background information on everyone I'm meeting with today. So it can automate the workflow. And then you can layer in the AI element. Okay, I have the background on everyone I'm meeting today. Okay, and also give me 5 questions I can ask them to deepen the relationship that lead to a potential sale or a joint venture, whatever outcome you're looking for. So then it's pulling context for itself to give you information. So you're strategically layering, you go from the workflow to the automated workflow to the AI giving you the next step, the thing that you have to do, which would be, have a conversation.
Yes. So the sales funnel part of it, that
Mhm.
workflow and hitting through those. And I found that is a big place that people lose customers. So I do a lot of digital advertising that drives traffic to websites and to retail establishments. And driving all of that traffic to the website, it really doesn't matter if I can show somebody, listen, we got you 3,000 clicks to your website, and you can look in their web traffic analytics at the huge jump in traffic, not just from our clicks, but from the overall exposure of it. But if they can't convert it, then to them, that's not a successful campaign. And that's what's really important. Are they converting it to leads? And often if the advertising is doing its job, its only job is to get them to click or to make a contact so that you can communicate with them and turn them into a real lead or a sale. And it often breaks down in that workflow and in that sales process. And I'm not their web developer and I'm not their expert on that end. So it's often a place where it hits. So if you're looking for somebody that is going to take over that funnel thing, then that's part of what Kay does. What else do you do?
So it's the systems, but then the system, especially if you're looking for an AI or an assistant to help you take over any of that or a social media manager or whoever, communicating with them as well. And that communication flows to both the people that you're working with and the people that you're trying to sell to. We've all heard you have 3 seconds to hook somebody, like on
Mhm.
social media. 3 seconds is not a lot of time, and you have to be really potent and succinct, but most of us, especially millennials and up, we are not used to being succinct. We are not used to just whipping up the camera, saying a, pithy little whatever thought, and then post and go. We sit and we have the, "Hi, welcome back." We have the pause. We have, the breath. I love those edits where they just do not the entire video is just of the editor basically editing out the breaths because it's such a thing we do. We're not used to it. We sit and we take a lot of time to write, caption back in the old days to find the hashtags. And that's not the way things are going anymore, especially now that AI can crawl Facebook and Instagram. Like, it's not necessarily writing just for the human now. It's not communicating just with the human. And you can't use, 100% AI generated. I don't know about you, but I can spot something that's AI written and not edited by a human a mile away. And I refuse to watch, listen, or read just an AI output. Like, unless it is really, really good, chances are I can go find it myself. So I'm not going to take the time to sit and read or listen to
Well,
it.
and it's so, I mean, people are talking about AI so much and using it to
Mhm.
make creative so much. And I think that's great for people that aren't used to doing the technical part of creating. But the thing that AI will never, ever replace is the actual creation of something, some art, whether it's writing, whether it's visual arts, whether it's audio, whether it's music, whatever it is, it can't create that from nothing. It has to have input to do it. So that pure creation that comes from you as a human, even if it's editing and fixing it, is so important, and it's going to be able to help you excel your business. Human connection and that authenticity is what sells. So if someone's having that breakdown, let's say they're working with someone like me and I'm telling them, listen, we're getting you to the spot. We're getting them to your website. They're not connecting through there and I can give them a whole list of reasons why. But if they're probably, most people use some form of a go high level, but some of them don't even have a CRM and they're still just using a form or a click to call and they're losing it right there. What are some top tips you can have for somebody that's kind of facing that, but they have no idea? They're like, well, I've got my number. They can contact me. What makes people click away, I guess? What efficiencies and tips can you give us to keep them in that loop?
Make it so easy to make the next click. Perfect example, I'm looking at switching credit card processing merchants from Stripe to another one because if you're not careful on Stripe, if somebody disputes the transaction, like, too bad, SOL, you're just going to eat that cost because they have no customer service. So I'm looking at switching to one where there is a customer service and about half the cost as far as the fee goes. And I'm super excited. I was ready to do it. I reached out to my guy. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do this. I'm switching, to a different white label, a go high level, so I can customize a CRM and upsell that. And I was like, I'm ready to switch. And he's like, okay, cool. Send me, the last 3 months of your processing statements and fill out this form. It's a PDF, about 4 pages, but it's not a fillable PDF. I'm not going to fill out that form. It is 2025. Like, if it's not a fillable PDF, I'm definitely not doing it. But sending me a PDF at the same time, like, also no. It should be a lot more simple and easier than that. And that's where a lot of people do. They make them do too much work. It should be something easy and valuable and clear as to a reason why. It's why you see so many people, they don't necessarily even say like link in bio or anything anymore. Like, we all know, we've been thoroughly trained. This is an interesting person. I bet they have a link. They always do. It's why you see it's an assessment. What's blocking you from making money? What's your love language? What does 2026 hold for you? Whatever. It's a very clear, 5, 10 questions. This is a problem, or this is something I'm curious to know. Few questions. Okay. Answer. Here's, what's in store for you in 2026. Underneath that, to make 2026 better, than that, or to avoid XYZ problems, click here for my $27 3-hour course or something like that. Click, it's linked up to like Stripe or Link or something, and go. Next page, cool. Hey, one-time offer. Here's, a discount for my one-to-one coaching. It's just so easy to then like, yes or no. I already have my information. Yes. All right. Sold. And then it's so easy for people. They would kind of like Alex Hormozy says, make it so good, make it so easy. They feel stupid saying no. That is really what it's all about. Remove the friction. Don't make them do too much work. Even don't make them do too much reading. A lot of times, what I find, and it's something I'm working on in my kind of like website 2.0 version once I get everything moved over, is yes, you can read it all. Yes, you could pop it in a chat GPT, get a summary. Cool. I'm also going to put a little video on there, like a Loom video, uh, basically saying everything that's already on there. But a lot of people prefer to either watch and or listen because
Especially
that's
younger
just
people.
exactly, especially the younger people. And even like Gen Z, Gen Z's got kids that are a few years old. Gen Z's are pretty well into their 20s at this point. So they're not that young anymore.
Right? I have 3 Gen Z kids and a couple of
Mhm.
millennials. So I think my oldest daughter's about to be 32. So I think
Yeah.
she's rocking that millennial age. And then my younger
Mhm.
boys are Gen Z, but they are all very video oriented.
Very.
Although my oldest, they're big readers. She's a doctor. She's definitely smart and in that reading thing. And I think part of it is we fall into that trap of wanting. I see a lot of people that post on social media and they'll post so much. Like,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, lose the Steinbeck novel. Mark, the only people that are going to read that are people that already read your stuff.
Mhm.
Right? Because the
Yep.
3-second thing, it's so fast. And before it's too much, it's the instant gratification, the dopamine hit. People love
Mhm.
that. And marketing copy really needs to be clear and concise. So I think we have the urge of trying to sell and do our storytelling through copy because it's comfortable to do it that way. But video is how you can really capture it. And is that what you see in your data collection as well? Yay!
All right.
She's back! We did it! You guys have to know that when I brought everything in house and was doing everything, I was in a full service studio. If there was a problem, I just asked the producer for help. But here we have to figure it out. So we had a little bit of a thing figuring out a glitch, but we got it. So let's start with or pick up with what are your top 3 ways someone can work more efficiently and make the same amount of money, but not work quite as hard?
The biggest things I see are really the clarity of what they offer, what they do, and why their clients should give a damn, essentially. So that clarity is really important and so hard to figure out for yourself. Even like we were talking AI, even with AI, it's really hard to get that clarity. Second thing, you have to have the clarity in order to communicate well. So then once you have the clarity, then I usually work with people on their communication. So it's talking about yourself confidently, non pretentiously, but also in a way that is strategic. So, like if you're networking, you're not just having coffee chats willy nilly, they're coffee chats that go somewhere. They lead to some kind of continuation or closure. Maybe you never talk to them again on purpose. Or maybe you say, hey, you're a really good referral partner, or I'm a really good referral partner for you. You're a good prospect, whatever the case may be. So, getting the clarity so you can communicate well and more confidently. And then once you have those, packaging it all up into basically a repeatable and scalable system. Because if it's not scalable, either by you, AI, automations, workflows, whatever, then you're just gonna be hustling and grinding 24/7. I don't know anybody who's started their business because they said, I want to try really hard all the time and be really stressed out all the time.
Right. Hustle culture is something that has been difficult for me to let go of. I've done a tremendous amount of work to let go and really feel it and understand how that spiritual system works. And it's a big deal. And I'm glad that you work on that with your clients and help them understand that you don't have to work this hard if you can just align with the things that are really the things, right? That you need. If you can align with those customers and the things that are important to you, then that's so much easier and easier to communicate. Well, that is fantastic. Preaching to the choir. My audience get tired of me talking about it all the time. So now they get a little bit of proof of concept coming from Kay. And tell us how we can get in touch with you if someone's interested in learning more about your services or seeing more of your cute farm content. How can they do all of that?
Yeah, the most consistent place that's easiest for everybody is typically just to find me on Instagram. It's at the Kay Phillips. So just my name with the in front of it. And that's where I post all the chickens, the cows, all the critters. Plus there's, of course, links to like my YouTube channel, my newsletter and all that, which are fairly comprehensive because I teach everybody how to do everything through my newsletter, through the YouTube channel, and then little short snippets of it, obviously, on Instagram. But I have found that it's not a knowledge problem typically that people have. All the knowledge is out there, which is why I put so much out there for free. It's typically an implementation problem and imposter syndrome kind of problem. So, okay, how exactly do I implement this for me? Because I'm not good at tech, or, I'm with an MLM, I don't have that much freedom. So, really taking everything that I teach and customizing it for each specific person through the coaching. But all the information is there in one form or another on my Instagram, including some cool little freebies like how to have a conversation at a networking event so you don't feel awkward, even if you're an introvert or a very awkward person like I am who does not take social cues.
I love that. Those are all great, helpful things for entrepreneurs and business owners. And even if you're in sales and you're working at another company, those networking things are so important for you, prospecting on your own and driving leads into your business. Nothing makes your boss happier and boosts your commission level more than that. So those are really important things. And I will link to all of Kay's good stuff in the show notes. So be sure and check that out. And you'll be able to link to our website and give us feedback, look at other episodes, and find out more about me and Hexagon Media, my advertising agency. So, like all the great conversations, we've come to an end. And hopefully the end of technical difficulties between us, because boy, this has been it's one of those things where it's going to be good because of the struggle you went through to get it, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kay, for coming on and for being so patient and such a trooper with technical difficulties. I appreciate it very much. And until next week, everyone, we're out.